through the call. Okay, so I will share the agenda, Brian, and then I think you can start whenever you would like to.
All right, we can get started. I'm sure folks will join as we move forward if they're not on here yet. But good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Martin, I'm Senior Manager for Colorado Broadband Office, helping fill in and kind of get things moving where I can. Brandy is, again, as said, not with us today, but I'm happy to be here and kind of talk to you all, and we'll get some updates from several of our colleagues on what's going on this side of the fence, and kind of open it up for questions or thoughts, concerns, all that. So, and you know, if there are ideas you'd like to see for these meetings as well, I think I'll be trying to take these over for Brandy as we go forward. So if there's things you'd like to see, would love to hear from you, and just make sure we're giving you all the information that we have. So I know things are a bit funny at this moment, but we're doing our best to work through it. So yeah, just as you go forward, just think about what you'd like to talk about in these, and we'll do our best to make sure we can give you the information we need. So on that side of things, I will pass this over for the first part of the agenda, legislative updates with Paige.
All right, thank you, Brian. So my name is Paige Osmond. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor with OIT's Government Affairs team, and an update on our wireless telecommunication bills that we've been tracking throughout this session. We did have our first bill pass the House, pass the Senate, and signed by the governor. So that was SB 2531. So that was the single point of contact wireless services bill. And if you remember, this bill requires the CBO to provide technical assistance to wireless applicants for funding. So that bill will go into effect on August 6th of this year. And then the next bill is HB 251056. This is the local government permitting wireless telecommunications facilities bill. So this bill has passed the House and Senate, but has not been sent to the governor yet. And this is the one that we've been referring to as the shot clock bill, as it does require local governments to either approve or deny a permit for wireless telecommunication facilities within a specific amount of time, and also allows the local government to toll that period under certain circumstances. And then the next bill is HB 251080. This is the Wireless Telephone Infrastructure Deployment Incentives Bill. And this was the one that allows local governments to provide property tax incentives to expand facilities in unserved and underserved areas within their jurisdiction. So that one has passed the House and Senate and was sent to the governor on May 2nd. So the governor does have 10 days to either sign the bill, veto the bill, or allow it to become law without signature. And there is only 2 days left of legislative session, so it does adjourn on May 7th. And what that means is all bills must have passed the House and Senate. When a bill has been sent to the governor after the legislative session has adjourned, the governor does have 30 days to act on that bill. So once the session does adjourn, we're going to turn our focus to the 2026 legislative session, and we would love to work with you in the interim on that. So please, at any time, feel free to reach out to me, and we can collaborate. And with that, I am happy to take any questions, and just want to say thank you to everyone for your participation in this session. So if you have any questions, please just feel free to raise your hand, or just say it. All right, so like I said, feel free to reach out to me at any time throughout the interim, and I do believe you will be getting BEAD updates next. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving into BEAD, and I'll open this up for any of our colleagues to jump in on, but just to let you all know, we're working diligently through our location lists, all the outstanding information needed for round one, and working through the last bits as well for round two. So I think overall, our focus is trying to get to the finish line and make sure we can get all of this information prepared and ready for the NTIA to review and approve later this year. It is a big ask to kind of get through all of this, and we've been plowing through it as quickly as possible and making sure we're having the biggest impact. So, as it says, all of this information we're having is probably subject to a public review and then a final approval from NTIA. I think, as we said, we're using the term preliminary selected applications, so nothing has been finalized yet. If you hear anything from anyone really other than us or on who's been selected and who hasn't, then that information would be inaccurate at this time. Despite whatever is going to happen with the NTIA and the current administration, our focus is always being on pushing forward to get this finished and make sure we're funding the right applications to get broadband access across Colorado. I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but really that's our focus. So right now we're just working through it as much as we can and making sure we're doing the right thing and getting the right applications funded. So. Jed, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
No, I think that covers it. I think at the top of the hour you mentioned we're kind of in an odd situation here. We're just about done, and yet we're expecting NTIA to make changes to the program. We're hoping that those changes do not impact our moving forward in any way or with any delay. So we're hoping that's the case. But we don't know what NTIA is going to say. I think at this point, we expect NTIA to come out. We've heard something mid-May, somewhere like May 14th or 15th. So we're kind of sitting on our thumbs right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is. We'll do our best to react appropriately and make sure we're getting whatever we can out the door and getting this done. Yeah. We are this close to being finished, and it's rather exciting. So hopefully we can continue forward.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on BEAD? Yeah, I'll do my best, but I can't say we can give you a ton of information right now, but we're working on it. So. Sandra, go ahead. Sandra, do you have a question?
Sandra, you might still be on mute.
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. I was just talking. I was asking, so has the 90 days started that the NTIA granted for the programmatic changes? And you guys don't know yet what those changes will be? Is that correct?
Yeah, the 90 days is tacked on as an extension to our, we had to submit the final proposal 1 year from being approved of volume 2, I think it was what it was. So that tacked on 90 days. That was going to be June, and now it will run out to September. But we plan to move forward hopefully ahead of that, assuming that they make changes that don't affect our deployment or our final proposal. We're going to move forward as hastily as possible.
Okay, thank you.
I will add really quick, when we do receive whatever changes to the program there will be from the NTIA, we will plan to make some kind of public announcement from our office. I'm sure you'll see it all over the news as well. But we'll try to be as transparent as possible and share information on how it's impacting Colorado specifically, because every state's kind of in a different place in their program. So changes will affect states differently. So we will plan to share with our stakeholders, how any changes are impacting us. So we'll make sure everyone here on this group receives that information too.
And is this what is supposed to come around May 15th? I think I heard that date.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, any other questions? Anything we can answer? If not, we can just push forward with the next part of the agenda. All right, so just to give you all a quick update, so round 2 for CPF is ongoing. That closes on May 11th. I don't believe we've had any applications come through yet, and I don't think we expect a large amount of them. I think it'll be probably at best 2 or 3. We'll see. Obviously, that could change, but we don't have only about 700,000 available, but we have, from CBO's standpoint, Matrix is ready to review and all of the things we need to kind of go through the applications in a quick manner. We'll have a committee meeting later this month to review those applications after the deadline. And then once final recommendations have been made, we'll publish those and inform the grantees and work on, I guess you call it amendments to their current agreements to get that out the door. So, I think this is something we certainly would love feedback on. We're pondering when there is an excess amount of funds for any of our federal programs or our state programs that we can host these kind of mini application periods to make sure we're spending the full amount of money that we can. So if you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, that's so far so good. I don't have anything else to report on that, but I will certainly next month have one. So. I'm not sure who popped up first, so Eric or Sandra, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sandra.
I'm sorry, I never put mine down. Sorry.
Sorry, okay.
If you don't get, not saying you won't, it probably will come in at the last moment, and those things usually do. Any applications for that remaining amount of the excess funds for the CPF, or if none of them are acceptable, I would imagine that those are fairly restricted funds as far as how they can be used. It has to be within the structure of what the original intent of CPF was. I know there's some limitations on how far out that can also when it has to be complete. I think since it's ARPA funded, it's the end of December 2026. Are there some flexibilities to use that for potentially some other purposes, like towards, I don't know, the nascent middle mile program or something like that, or is it just restricted to do the same thing that CPF was intended to do?
I think it's probably pretty restrictive in the sense that they'll have to follow many of the guidelines. There is an addendum that we put out that kind of covers a little bit of what's able to cover, but my understanding, and if we can revisit that, that's something we'd like to do, is determine if it can be used for other things. But my understanding is we had to get approval for it, so we kind of had to meet the requirements of CPF in general. So, but it's a good point. It's a good question. Go ahead, Jim.
I think that's a good question to bring up, Eric. Like you said, we always get applications at 11:59 on May 11th, and that's probably when they'll come in. And so we're hoping that we do get something that's actionable there. But if not, I think what I might do is go back and look at the original NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity this is from Treasury, and see how broad that is. That's not a bad idea, like something like middle mile. And what we would have to do is go back and amend our proposal to Treasury that gets approved. We amended it to do this little round of funding here, and they're usually pretty good. They've approved things like within a week, and they've been very flexible in what we've been able to do. But yeah, if we got nothing, or if we had 100,000 left over, we could just say, hey, could we throw this into our middle mile bucket or something like that? I'll take that as a homework item.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions on BEAD? Anything we can answer? Sandra, go ahead.
Yeah, I do have one final one. Would you guys have any, I guess, um, capacity or authorization to push back since you're so far into the program if there are changes that will really impact what you've done so
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to think our voice is pretty strong here in advocating for Colorado. And I think the best thing we can do is just show the impact that we've had and the advancements that we've made within this program, and do our best to share our case. And if you all have opportunities to let the current administration know just how much of a change this can affect in Colorado, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to go ahead and do so. I think we're trying very hard to get this money out the door, and we don't really want to be hindered by setbacks or changes in regulations or additional regulations. So our best bet, I think, is just to keep pleading our case and show the data that we have that shows how far along we are, and just to let us continue. So.
Yeah, Sandra, I think the only thing I would add to that is you've at least from the Attorney General's office, you've seen our Attorney General is not shy about pushing legal issues where we can make a case. So we have to wait and see what NTIA says. I mean, as you may have seen, the Attorney General filed onto another suit today. And what we've done is banded together with other states that are commonly situated. So, that might be a possibility. But, if there's a case to be made and it would benefit Coloradans, even just to speed up the process or not force us to go through a process that slows us down, that case might, we'd have to take a look at that case.
okay, that's good to know. And we have been pushing back and sending letters. Matter of fact, we're going to deliver a petition to the governor tomorrow, to the governor's office, asking to push back, because we know how far the broadband offices come. And I was just wondering if any of the ISPs on here had any opinions about that, as far as being at risk for honestly losing maybe some of the broadband technician work to satellite or any alternative, mostly low Earth orbit satellite. So just wanted to know if they had any opinions about that as well.
Well, thank you for reaching out to the governor. That helps.
I will add, Sandra, everything we've seen from NTIA does say their changes are meant to speed up the program. Now, granted that, that will affect states differently depending on where they are, but it sounds like that is their intention, is to not make this take longer, but to push things through quicker. So we'll see if that works for Colorado, but maybe that'll help us all sleep a little better at night, knowing that's possibly the intention of the NTIA. So.
Yeah.
There is a need for, what is it, speed for bead or something national, and I don't know if they've done a lot of research, but I know that our leadership has, and it just shows that even though satellite might be quick to deploy, it is not nearly as efficient as fiber. And I know that there are some areas where fiber may not be feasible, but those areas where it is satellite is just not going to work according to our research. So I just want to share that.
Yeah, just to again reiterate what I keep saying. So yeah, we're trying to push this as quickly as possible and show that we can have the biggest impact through a lack of change. So that's our focus, and we'll continue to do that. And as Judd said, thank you for reaching out and letting folks know we should just be left alone so we can just get this done. So. All right. Is there anything else we can address? Is there any comments anyone want to share for kind of next meetings or what's going on right now? Anything we can do or talk about? Go ahead, Eric.
I had a couple things. One of them's current. In fact, we're in the middle of it of a week. I noticed that the CBO put out an RFI for middle mile contractors last Thursday, and that was, I think, the comment period is due today, and then the actual responses are due on Friday. And it looks like that was structured to be something that would then lead to perhaps informing more fully the actual RFP for services that would come after that. Curious as to why only a week and whether that was sufficient time for you to get much of a response back. I know we've been talking about it a long time, but those things, as was discussed in the last meeting, are going to take time. Well, a week isn't very long to turn from getting response or the notification that they want to get a full response to having to turn it in for a lot of entities that are busy with other things, including probably CPF and BEAD.
Yeah, I have not been a ton of involvement in that. It's been more of Brandy's thing as we've been trying to clear up the other stuff. But Lauren, if you can just make a note of that, we can follow up and see what the reasoning is and let you know. I mean, I think we have a lot going on right now, so we want to make sure we're following every requirement. But why it was only a week, I'm not sure. So I'm sorry, I can't be of more help there.
Well, it's just a comment, and especially since we're in the middle of it, maybe now you could get a better response, a more full response, if you gave it a little bit more time. And even though we're trying to push that forward, it's a long-term process, as was discussed. So that was just my comment. And on maybe next time, because I hate to put you on the spot because Brandy's not here, and you probably don't know the answer to this question, but perhaps it's something that you could bring back for next time, again, on some of the middle mile initiatives. And it wasn't mentioned in the RFI, but one of the things that's been touted as a component of the current middle mile efforts from the CBO were connecting a state park down near Trinidad. And I'm curious as to know what the actual broadband tie-in is to that, whether there's, that's going to enhance broadband availability for ISPs or communities along that path. And whether it's just going directly to service state parks offices, in which case it seems like it's more very long last mile connection than it is middle mile, as far as it's how it's being implemented and what it's going to be used for. So just a little bit more detail on that and how it really plays into any kind of middle mile thought pattern. That maybe, I realize you probably can't answer that today, but maybe for next meeting.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I made a note, so we'll do a deeper dive into that and come back for the next meeting for that. So thank you.
Or we can try to get you an answer before that too, Eric, if you want. We're happy to do that.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Anything else? Anything else we'd like to cover? Yeah, sorry, I can't be the bearer of all information at this point, but as you know, we're doing our best to get through this as patiently and carefully as possible. But I really think the end result will be whatever it is, but we'll do our best to make sure this goes out the door. So, and if you have any questions on this process, please feel free to reach out, and yeah, we'll tackle these questions and comments you guys have shared and get back to you as soon as we can. So. Don't think there's anything else on the agenda.
No,
So
that was it.
close out unless anyone has any further thoughts, final thoughts. All right. Well, thank you for your participation. And again, we're open if you have any thoughts and comments on these things. So, and yeah, well, thank you for coming here, and we'll be in touch. So.